capability building process. It is typically the Gen X faculties that I am talking of, where we have national borders becoming blurred. Day by day, the borders are becoming blurred, and information and communication is freely flowing in the teaching arena. Now, what is it going to deliver? This is going to deliver if we have the capabilities of faculties and if we are able to develop cross-border matching skills of the human capital. The scenario is going to be very different. The economic enhancement will really happen. We will have developed skills, we will have job ready workforce with the global skill sets, and I am sure the industry corridor creation with partnerships with overseas partners would have spaces for these globally developed skill set people to work not only in India but cross border. So, linkages necessarily does not mean that we are speaking only from the perspective of research and teaching. It also means that India has to be one step ahead in terms of taking our youth to the global market. Last but not the least, I feel that cluster approach is really essential, where global companies and niche cross border relationships from maybe the educational institutions, colleges, universities could create a cluster and start working jointly on initiatives and areas of expertise and requirement of global companies could come very, very handy in the international approach and the linkage approach. This would necessarily mean that we will have to recognize and support cultural diversity. Nothing can happen in the air. India culturally is very different from the West, is very, very different from Southeast Asia, maybe very different from Australia, from any other continent. And when we speak of cross border, when we speak of linkages, it becomes equally important for us to be able to cope up with the changes in the diversity of cultures. Community engagement through successful grassroots models would also be one of the success factors. We need to really look at which are the communities which align to us as a country, and could we really look at grassroots models that exist in those countries, and could the replication really happen here? Could we look at enhancing the intercultural relationship and understand how do we contribute to the social and individual development in this arena and in this space where people from different countries would be coming together and working together. Education is today looked at as a form of diplomatic investment. Contribution to skilled international resource students can become in the future a key to trade relations. Striking a balance between economic generating motives and academic benefits is going to be the key to the success of engagements. Now, what should be the approaches to the internationalization? These are the few approaches that I feel needs to be looked at. One, activity based approach, where we speak of curriculum, faculty exchanges, technical assistance, international students movement. We could really look at competency approach. What is this competency approach all about? Competency approach is an approach where we look at development of knowledge, skills together and generate, which would lead to the transfer of technology, transfer of knowledge to the developed competencies. It will be equally important to become internationally knowledgeable and interculturally skilled to be in the international space. This should be the focus if we are looking at the competency based approach. International curricula is really not the end, but it is a means to develop our faculty members and students. So, we need to bring in a complete competency based approach in our academic institutions, in our colleges and in our universities to bring in internationalization. Third approach is the approach, what we call it as the ethos approach. What is this ethos approach? Ethos approach is an approach of creating a climate that supports international cultures, perspectives and initiatives. International dimension is the fundamental for organization development of an academic institution or a university with strong belief and supportive system. So, one is the activity based approach where we bring in superficial small changes, competency approach where we build competency across the value chain, ethos where we try and bring a climatic change in the organization. Fourth approach is the approach which we call it as the process approach. What is a process approach? Process approach is an approach which is the integration of international dimensions into teaching, research, services through various activities, policies, procedures and addressing sustainability of international dimensions. Process approach is the most difficult one and it is always advised for institutions to move in slowly from activity based approach to competency based approach, from there to ethos and finally into a process based approach. Process based approach on day one can never be successful in internationalization and in the linkages arena. So, what are going to be the outcomes of internationalization? The outcomes of internationalizations are threefold. 1, economic, 2, cultural, 3, academic. What is economic and what do we mean by this and how can an academic institution contribute to that? I am sure it is going to enhance the economic, scientific and technological competitiveness of individuals, faculties, students and institutions. It is going to promote income generation from educational products. The second part, which is the outcome, is cultural outcome. What is this cultural outcome all about? Cultural outcome where we start recognizing and supporting cultural diversity. We will slowly enhance intercultural relationship and understanding. We will have a deep understanding of people from other culture. We will be able to contribute to social and individual development in this space. Last but not the least, and which is most important and core to an academic institution, is the academic outcomes of internationalization. It will definitely prepare our graduates for international markets. It will address global dependencies through research and scholarships. It will ensure that the research addresses international and national issues. We will be able to achieve international teaching standards very, very quickly. So, thus education will become a diplomatic investment in times to come. So, we got to be prepared to ensure that we bring in the change in economy, we bring in the change in cultures, we try and bring in the academic change through internationalization. It is a process which has to be driven in academic institutions over a period of time. Am I talking of a very tall order? I think not. It is important to align universities to national agenda for development, because internationalization at the end of the day will align to development as a bigger platform and a bigger agenda. Universities, academic institutions need to equip themselves with the right kind of inputs. Universities will have to work together with the rest of the world. The world is waiting for academic institutions to reach out to them. India excites a lot of overseas partners. They're very curious to know what is happening in this country called India. We'll have to effectively use all our strengths that the universities have been incorporated with. Each academic institution has a different strength, and this strength has to be brought on the plateau to the international or overseas partner.